Hi, I'm Brandon Grant, Marketing Director here at QuoteWerks. In this video, we're going to talk about and demonstrate how QuoteWerks Web integrates with salesforce.com. Before we get started, there's a couple of keynotes and features we want to discuss. First, QuoteWerks Web is an add-on to QuoteWerks Desktop. This means it will use your existing licensing and features you already have, such as Real-Time, Utilize, and Quote Valet. Additionally, it means that you are able to utilize your existing system settings, security rights, templates, and layouts without having to recreate these for web users. QuoteWerks Web is also only $10 per user per month. Since it is an add-on, this means you do not have to repurchase a completely new system to take advantage of QuoteWerks Web. Additionally, no one will be forced into using it. If you only want a couple of your reps to use it, you can buy licenses just for them. Another one of the key features for QuoteWerks Web is the utilization of your existing data. This means no complicated importing and exporting and no constant synchronization required. QuoteWerks Web will tie directly into your existing QuoteWerks databases and let you not only edit any existing documents, but create new ones that are available immediately in QuoteWerks Desktop. To host your QuoteWerks databases, we are offering a database hosting service, or you'll have the option to do it yourself. We can even provide setup instructions if you decide to host the databases yourself. And finally, QuoteWerks Web includes the salesforce.com integration at no additional charge. This means you can take advantage of the existing features in the integration, such as contact support and opportunity support, among others. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll begin by logging into QuoteWerks Web at na.quoteworks.com. Enter your tenant account number followed by your QuoteWerks username and password. This will bring us to the QuoteWerks Web home screen. In the middle of the screen, you'll see you have the options to create a new document or open an existing document. If you click on the drop-down arrow, you'll have the option to create a new quote, order, invoice, or select a template or use a recently created template. For our example, we're going to go ahead and click on New Quote. You'll be prompted to enter the document name. So in this case, we'll call it our Products and Services Quote, and then simply click Create to create this document. Once your document is created, you'll see there's a navigation panel on the left-hand side. We're going to start there. The first option is going to be the workbook. This will display the default look you'll see when you first log into QuoteWerks Web and open or create a new document. This should look very familiar, as it's going to have the tabs that you're used to seeing and some of the menu options available, including save and the ability to deliver your document. The documents option is where you will search for existing documents in your QuoteWerks database. So if you want to search by the document name, number, sales rep, or company, you can do that. You can even filter by what type of document it is, whether it's a quote, order, invoice, all, or if it includes any revisions. Once you've found your document, simply highlight it and double click on it to open that document in QuoteWerks Web. The products section will be where your products are stored and available in QuoteWerks Web. Any databases that you've set up will be available here in your product database list. If you have access or signed up with our Real-Time and Utilize functionality, Utilize will also be available where you can do a search for items from your Utilize distributors. The contacts window is where you can search for contacts that already exist in Salesforce. You'll be able to search by account, last name, or phone number. Simply type in the information and hit the magnifying glass here. And then finally, if you have a Quote Valet subscription, you'll also be able to log into Quote Valet Insight from here and view your document information that's going on in Quote Valet. So let's go ahead and go back to our workbook and let's create a new document. So we're going to click on our Sold to Ship to tab, just like we would in QuoteWerks, and we want to select our contact first. From the Sold to Ship to tab, if you click on the magnifying glass, you'll see it'll actually bring you to the contacts section in the navigation panel. So I'm going to search for our company under Aspire and click on the magnifying glass. This will return back all the results that match. And once you've found your contact that you'd like to pull into QuoteWerks, simply highlight them, and down at the bottom you'll see you have the option to use them for the sold to, ship to, bill to, or if you click all, that'll pull that same contact across all 3 fields. So for our example, we're going to go ahead and do that, and then once you do that, you should see a confirmation in the bottom right corner of the window. If we go back to our workbook, you'll see we're brought back to the Sold to Shipped to tab, and our contact information has been populated across all 3 fields. So let's go ahead and click on our Document Items tab. The Document Items tab is going to work just like it does in QuoteWerks Desktop. So if we right-click in our document window here, you'll see you have the option to add blank lines, comment lines, section headers, add new lines from here, change line types, all that functionality is available. So for instance, if we want to insert a section header for, we'll say, products, and then we'll insert another one for services, and we'll add one more for optional items. So once we have our section headers on our document and we're ready to start adding items, there's a few different ways you can do that. You can click on the products option in the navigation panel, or you can also go to the products menu option up at the top and select lookup. This will bring you to the same place, and you'll see you'll be able to search for your items based on the description, manufacturer part number, manufacturer, vendor part number, internal part number. Basically the same fields that are available in QuoteWerks Desktop will be available here. You can also use the show all functionality to load all the items from a particular database, and then once you've made your selections, if we hold Control, we can select multiple items. Down at the bottom, you'll see there's an option to add these selected products or items to the document. And again, you'll get a confirmation message once that has finished. If we wanted to pull items from another database, we can do that as well. Again, you can do a show all and add a couple items. For those of you that are using Utilize, where you're pulling items from the IT distributors, this functionality is going to work just a little bit differently. So we're going to click over to Utilize, and you'll actually have access to 4 separate tabs. The Search tab, which is what you're familiar with, and then also the Workspace, Compare, and Favorites. The Search is where we'll search for our particular item. So if we have an item that we want to search for, so we'll just do a generic search for trip light switch. This will return back my results. Directly below the search window, I'll have access to filtering. So if I want to filter based on categories or manufacturers and features and attributes, I can easily do so. So for our example, if I select switch boxes here, this will narrow my results based on switch boxes to, in this case, 132 results. I can narrow it down even further if I start selecting features and attributes that I'm looking for. So for instance, if we go down to product family and expand this, and then go to Net Commander, that'll narrow my search results down to 11 options. Once you've narrowed your results down and you're ready to get pricing and availability, simply look for the item. So for this case, we'll just get pricing on this first item here, and you'll see the real-time button is available to the right. You click on that, and this will load the pricing and availability for each of the distributors that you've set up in QuoteWerks. So here we can see the price from D&H, Synex, Ingram Micro, and Tech Data. If you hover over the quantity, you can actually see the quantity broken down by each warehouse from each of the particular vendors. So for our example, if we wanted to ship it from D&H, they have 7 in stock. Or if we go to Tech Data, we see they actually have 20 in vendor direct stock, so we can source it from there. And to select the item, you simply choose Select, and you'll get a confirmation that the item was added to the current document. Just like in Utilize in the desktop version, you'll have access to the other tabs. So for instance, accessories, similar items, and upsell items will be available. So in this case, if we wanted to include some connector cables, we could select one of those items, get our pricing and availability. And again, in this case, we'll see Tech Data has the best price, so we'll go ahead and source it from Tech Data since I have the best price and it's in stock. And we'll add that to the document. If we want to collapse this window, simply click on the collapse window option there and it'll close that. If you want to do it for the main item, you can click on the collapse option as well, and that'll close it there as well. You'll see there's also a couple other options for this particular item. We also have the option to add it to the workspace, compare, mark it as a favorite or hide this search result. So when I add it to the workspace, you'll see it'll actually add it to my workspace tab here. So if I go through and add a few of these items to my workspace, when I click on the workspace tab, those 4 items will appear. This makes it really easy to save these items to use later if you're doing maybe multiple quotes or just going to be working with these similar items on a regular basis for the next couple hours or next couple days. You can save them into your workspace tab, then it basically holds them there temporarily. It'll basically hold them there until you log out of QuoteWerks Web. So this is really useful if you're building a big project or doing multiple quotes that are selling a lot of the same items. You can save them in your workspace so you can get access to the pricing and availability for these items, but you don't have to restart your search each time. Now, similar to the workspace, but on a more permanent basis, if you want to save these items on your favorites tab, simply click on the little heart icon and these will add them to the favorite tab. When you click on the favorites tab, you can see a list of these. So this is where you can save these items permanently, so they're always available for you to load pricing availability without having to research for these particular items. If you'd like to remove an item from your favorites, simply click on the delete item from favorites button, the little red X here to the right. If we go back to our search window, you'll also see there is a compare button. The compare button will let you compare multiple items across each other. So just like in QuoteWerks Desktop where you have the access to compare the items against each other in kind of like a matrix format, we can do the same thing here. Click on the compare tab and QuoteWerks Web will actually load these 4 selected items and their technical information. And we can even get pricing and availability on all 4 items at once by checking on this box. And you'll see Utilize and our real-time module will load the product content and the pricing and availability for these particular items, and you can choose which vendor and which item you want to source. You then also have the option to remove either all the items or single items if one of them is not available from any of your setup vendors in QuoteWerks. So we go back to the search window. You'll see here we can continue as necessary. If you want to reset your search, simply click on the reset button and that will reset your search. We also have access to the hide item button. What this will do, this will remove this item from your search results on a temporary basis. So if I continue to search and utilize on items that are similar to this one, I can remove it from my search results. Once I log out and log back in QuoteWerks Web, it will bring this item, or this item will be available again in my search window, so it's not gone permanently, just kind of for this particular session in QuoteWerks Web. So let's go ahead and go back to our workbook, and you'll see we have a list of all of our items on our document. So now we can start moving these items around, getting everything organized in our document so we can send it to the customer. So the first thing we want to do is highlight some of our product items here. So we'll grab a couple of these, and then I can simply drag and drop them while they're highlighted into my product section. So we can do the same thing for our service items, where we can highlight them and then drag them onto our services section. And we'll go ahead and we'll just repeat this for a couple other items for our products. Let's go ahead and move this under products here and move that one under products as well. And then we'll go ahead and just delete this extra line here. And now we have our document organized the way we want. You'll see the autosave will run in the background as you make changes to your document, but you can always initiate the save by clicking on the save icon. So once we have the items where we want in our various sections, we can make any adjustments to them as we need it. A couple of really cool features in QuoteWerks Web includes the ability to edit the description through our description panel, or our toggle panel here on the grid toolbar. So if I click on the toggle description panel, this will show me my item's description and I can make any adjustments, sort of like a nice little shortcut. And then as I go through and make those changes, I can click on the next item and it'll bring me directly to the description panel for that particular item, and I can go through and repeat this step as necessary. So it's a nice little quick way to kind of narrow down and make my adjustments to items, just kind of a shortcut to make those adjustments on your various items very quickly. While you're in the item, if you do want to double click on the description field, you can expand the description window. So if you want to type more in here or copy and paste, you can do it. But the description panel at the bottom is a better and more efficient way to perform these types of tasks. And to turn off the description toggle panel, simply click on it. You'll also see there's an option for the toggle item panel. This will show you all the other columns that are available, and if by default they're ordered by name, but you can always uncheck it and they'll be ordered in the same way as they are on your quote workbook. So in this case we have our quantity first, and you could change that and it'll update our item as we make any changes here. So if you want to add item types, change costs, pricing, anything like that, without having to tab through these different fields, you can do that. You can also search or locate a specific field by typing in here. So for instance, if I wanted to update the unit price, I could type in unit price, and you'll see it'll narrow down my search results to my unit price, and then I could highlight it and change my price. And that'll update the price in real time on my document. And then simply close out of this window or click on the toggle item panel window to close it. You'll also see we have access to the set dependent quantity feature in QuoteWerks Web, which will allow you to link items together, such as labor or any other items that need to be adjusted automatically when you sell more of them. We also have access to the set item attributes window and the set item properties window. So if I wanted to adjust an item's attribute, I can highlight it and right click, and just like in QuoteWorks, use the shortcut of Control-R or choose Edit Line Attributes, and this will bring up the Line Attributes window. In this window, I can set if the item is optional, yes or no, if I want to choose if it's selected, and if it's part of an exclusive group. I also will have the option to change the tax code, hide the price, quantity, choose whether or not the item is going to be excluded. If I want to print the item, if it's in a group or bundle, I may not want to do that so it doesn't appear. If I want to print the picture, and if the item is recurring, if I want to set any of those recurring options, and then click OK to save that particular setting. I can do the same thing with this other optional item, so we'll go ahead and choose it is optional and is selected and hit OK. Now if you have any other items from another document that you'd like to copy into QuoteWerks Web, we can easily do that. So if we click on our documents option in our navigation panel, and we'll just go ahead and we'll search for a particular document. Choose search. And then we can select this document. And this could be a document that was created in QuoteWerks Web or in QuoteWerks Desktop. And if we highlight a couple of those items, we can then copy. And then you'll see down at the bottom, you'll actually have access to any existing documents you have open, and we can paste them into our document by right-clicking and choose Append Paste. And you'll see here are 2 items that we just copied and pasted over from our other document. So now that we have all of our items on the document, let's go ahead and save our document. So we're going to click on Save. So the document number has already been assigned since we created it when we first started this document. The status of the document will be set as open, but if you want to change it, you can click on the ellipsis button. Same thing with the project number. You'll see down here, this is where you have the option to create or attach to an existing opportunity in Salesforce with the checkbox, and then click OK. That will make any changes and updates to our document and save those, and then we'll have the option to create the opportunity in Salesforce. If an opportunity exists, you can click on the drop-down arrow and link to an existing opportunity. But for our example, we'll go ahead and create a new one. This will be the opportunity name, which is just going to be the name of the document with the quote number. It's just a default naming convention that can be changed. We can then set the stage, probability, add a description if we'd like, expected close date, and then choose which items are going to be written into which price book in Salesforce. So for instance, if I want to write these items into my gold price book, check that box and click OK. If you don't want to write the items into Salesforce until you've confirmed that the customer is going to be moving forward, you can wait on this step. But for our example, I'm going to go ahead and include them and click OK. Once it finishes creating the opportunity in Salesforce, you'll simply be brought to the main QuoteWerks screen, and we're now ready to send this document over to our customer. If you want to go in Salesforce and check that the opportunity was created, we can open up Salesforce, go to our Opportunities tab, and then we'll see here is our opportunity that was just created. And if we click on it, that'll open up the opportunity, and we'll see a list of our line items that were added to the opportunity as well. So let's go back into QuoteWerks Web. And now that we're ready to send the document to our customer, we're going to click on the Deliver icon. This is going to open up the Deliver window where you can build the document that you're going to send to your customer. If you already have any defaults set, those will already be pre-selected for you in the Selections panel, but you could change them by clicking on the Cover Page tab, the Layout tab. If you want to add any literature documentation such as warranty, contracts, agreements, anything like that, any spec sheets that you might have associated, you can do that. Once you've made your selections, you can maneuver these around as needed. They support drag and drop where I can easily move these around, get everything in the correct order. We can even preview this document before we send it to the customer. Simply click on the Print Preview button here, and this will process our document so that we can preview it as a PDF. And it'll open up the PDF in a new tab in your browser. If this does not happen, if you don't see this, just check your settings in your browser, as you may have a pop-up blocker set that is restricting QuoteWerks from being able to open up the PDF preview. But we can see here is our PDF document. Scroll down, and our line item information. If any of your items include product pictures, those will be included as well. And then our solution summary, and then our support agreement. So everything looks good, so we're going to close out of here and go back into QuoteWerks. So we're ready to send this to our customer, so we can upload this to QuoteValet. Select our customer-facing document, choose Upload. And once it's been uploaded, we can actually preview this before we send it out to the customer, so we can see exactly what the document's going to look like. And we can scroll down, see all our line item information. Everything looks good. And then go back into QuoteWerks Web. Click on Send to Email. This will open up the email window. You'll see there's a link to the QuoteWerks document via QuoteValet. And if you want to change or add the email addresses, we can make those adjustments. If you need to attach any additional documentation, you can do that as well. And simply click Send to send this out to the customer. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this window and close back and go back into QuoteWerks. Now, once the document has been uploaded to QuoteValet, you can click on the QuoteValet tab and you'll have access to all of the activity notifications just like you would in the desktop. If the customer accepts or makes payment, you'll be able to see that activity history here as well. So for example, if we go back into our QuoteValet document and the customer signs off on this, and they sign off on the document, and they can draw their signature and then click to accept. And then once the quote has been accepted, we can go back to the QuoteWerks Web, refresh the activity here, and we'll get a confirmation that the customer has made some selections and that they've accepted the quote. QuoteWerks will prompt you, just like in the desktop, to convert this quote to an order, letting you know that quote was accepted through QuoteValet, and then to convert this quote to an order, click OK. And this is very important because this will convert the quote to an order in QuoteWerks Web and then also prompt you to update the opportunity in Salesforce as one. So if anything has changed or been updated, we can make those adjustments and then click OK. And that will update our opportunity in Salesforce as one. And then if we go back into QuoteValet, we'll see the updated activity where the customer had accepted the quote. And then we can go back to our document item screen and you'll see that the quote has been converted to the order. So all of this should look very familiar to you as it follows the same process and workflow that QuoteWerks Desktop does. So it should make it very easy to just add QuoteWerks Web to your existing installation and use it in addition to QuoteWerks Desktop without having to retrain or relearn any of the features and functionality that already exist. One of the really great features about QuoteWerks Web is since it is a web product, you can actually set it up to run inside of Salesforce. So if you do not want to have to run QuoteWerks Web separately outside of Salesforce, you can set it up as its own tab. Click on the QuoteWerks Web tab here, And we have instructions for setting this up where you can actually load and access QuoteWerks Web directly from Salesforce. So for instance, if I go into my open window here, I can actually access that quote that we've already created and converted to an order from my Salesforce window. The same can be said for Quote Valley Insight. If you have a Quote Valley subscription, you can create a tab for Quote Valley Insight as well, so you have access to Quote Valley and QuoteWerks Web all from within Salesforce. So in summary, QuoteWerks Web will include the salesforce.com integration, is only $10 per user per month, and you only need to have as many QuoteWerks Web licenses for users who actually need it. So you may not need a QuoteWerks Web license for every user in your installation. And finally, QuoteWerks Web utilizes your existing licensing features in your current subscription. For more information, or if you have any questions, please contact our sales team. Thanks for watching.